Hi, this is Andy on my channel, West Valley 411. If you've ever stopped to pick up a quarter or dropped a tomato out of your shopping bag, you've probably seen but never noticed the access port right here to the fill and drain plug to your differential. And that square cap bolt is what needs to be removed in order to get the job started. So in this video, we're going to be changing that differential fluid in a 2019 Honda Pilot, and I'm going to give you all the tips and tricks, so stay tuned. You may not have seen some of these on any other videos. Now, you can probably back up your Pilot off of a curb and get that bolt off, as well as the drain plug, and change it without jacking it up, because there's quite a bit of clearance here. But in reality, you want a little bit more room, so we're going to be putting the vehicle up on a ramp so we can get access. So let's get started. All right, let's take a look at our parts, supplies, and tools. I tend to get most of my OEMs at the Honda dealership, and if you can see here, the fluid is listed at $10.57. I usually ask them for a discount, and the salesman this time didn't even question it. I got it for $9. It's possible you can get it cheaper online, but you got to worry about shipping. And I've seen it as much as $38 for 2 quarts. And so I think this is actually a pretty reasonable deal. And then you need to get the washer for the fill cap bolt and for the drain plug. Now, when I saw the price, I thought the guy was out of his mind until I went online and noticed that some of these are a heck of a lot more. The 20 millimeter washer here is $3.58, and the 18 millimeter here was $1.21. Now, you can go down a huge rabbit hole if you want to look at the composition of crush washers, what percentage aluminum they are, whether you can use aluminum or brass. And I have to say, if I wasn't doing this video to demo how to do the replacement, I probably would keep the old one on, because my crush washer on the oil pan bolt has been used for probably 3 years and I've never replaced it. It doesn't really matter what size you use, although there is a bit of a flat surface here and a rounded one on the other side. And basically this washer serves the purpose of filling any gaps between the flat surface of the differential housing or the oil pan and the potential uneven surface of the bolt. So you can reuse them, although of course the manufacturer suggests you don't. You can flip them over, you can do the same side. Basically, you'll never get it on exactly in the same place as where you had it, but you don't want to, because as it rotates, it'll just crush to the new position. So have fun with that. You can use what you've got and it won't be the end of the world. Now, in terms of fluid, believe it or not, the pump fluid that I was looking for, they were out at the dealer. And he said, we're basically giving everyone the Acura fluid. So I took him at his word. It's basically the same thing. Now, in terms of a fluid pump, I got this one at Harbor Freight for $9, $9.99. And you might be able to get a little bit cheaper if you want to wait for shipping online. But the good news is I also found these, a box of 100 vinyl gloves. These are usually over $11, 10 at Walmart, 11 to 13 at Harbor Freight, depending on the how many millimeters you got. But these are great because you're always using them either for, painting, changing the oil, and they fit real nice and keeps your hands clean. Now, in terms of the tightening of the bolts, you're going to need a torque wrench. This one is set, I don't know if you can see that, it is set at 29 for changing the oil. I also have a Civic, and for the Pilot, the differential bolt needs to be set at 35. So I will change these foot-pounds from 29 to 35, and you basically do that by, this is hard with one hand, but you basically pull out the base and then rotate it, and that'll get up, and we'll show you that when we're working on the car. Now, in terms of ratchets to remove the square cap bolt, the problem with a lot of ratchets is they're rounded at the end. And can you see that? It is, you're going to need basically a square socket, and the ratchet will suffice. So there's one. Here's another one. This is a Craftsman. You can see, let me see how up close I can get this. It's kind of rounded. And so what you need to do is hold the ratchet up against the plug, apply a little pressure before you turn. Otherwise you might, round it off, and then you're going to have a bigger problem. And just for reference, I grabbed my oil pan crush washer. That's 14 millimeters, and the reference price was 52 cents. This is my setup for lifting up the rear end of the Pilot. I prefer to use ramps. It's just what I have handy, and I always put 4x6s, 4x8s underneath, just as a backup in case the ramp fails. I figure my life is worth a few minutes. And then I also put some cardboard to catch some of the oil splashes. So let's take a look at the access port so you can get your tools in there. All right, let's get some light on it. So we can either put our ratchet through the access port, or you can see on this side there's plenty of room for you to get your ratchet back, and my finger's going through the access port and the recess nuts right there. So you've got, probably 4 inches there where you can get your ratchet in. So let's do that now. Just to review, people say all the time, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. What that means is if you're loosening it, you start on the left and you go to the right. So we're going to be going this way. All right, so we're going to hold this ratchet square. We're going to hit it on this end to loosen it, and no oil is going to come out of this port because this is the fill port and the drain port's on the other side. All right, we're going to tap the ratchet on the end to make sure that it's seated all the way in. And then we're ready to go. All right, you can see the crush washer separated from the nut, but we'll be able to get that off. And here both of them come off together. All right, we're going to set that aside, and now we'll move over here to the drain plug, get repositioned, and we'll put our oil pan right underneath it. The fill recess nut is not as deep as the drain plug here, so we're going to be able to tap our ratchet in quite a bit more. And normally with the transmission fluid, it comes out pretty strongly, shoots out over the drain pan. So I usually lift it up like this. So we'll give it a pull, and we may get a drip or two out of it, but typically nothing comes out until you turn it more. So we'll give it a tug, open it up, and then go from there. All right. Let's see, is my hand in the way? I don't know if you can see that very well, but we'll continue to turn it manually. Okay, nothing's come out yet. Nothing's come out yet. I'm going to angle this pan up to catch any spray. All right, so healthy amount of fluids coming out. We're going to need 2 quarts. So we'll let that drain. Let me get a paper towel underneath this plug and we'll take a look at it. It's a magnetic plug, and yeah, there's some gunk on it for sure. So clean that off. You can see the fluid draining there. We'll let that drain for a couple minutes and then we'll come back. Right after 3 minutes, we're down to some drips. We'll let it continue draining. This isn't very messy if you catch all your drain fluid. You can see around the threads there, not a whole lot of fluid splashed out around the differential housing. Now the drain plug is the 18mm crush washer. So get that on, and as soon as it's finished draining, we'll put it back in. All right, we're down to a drip about every 10 seconds. We're going to put the cleaned up drain plug back on. This is the first time fluid's been changed in this pilot, and it's at 44,000 miles. So the fluid actually didn't look too bad. Just keep in mind, if we did this more frequently, cleaning out the differential wouldn't be as important. But you know, we're not irrigating somebody's bowel. We're just changing the fluid. So just reverse the process. Now you want to make sure you don't cross thread. So when you put it in and turn it hand tight, you'll make sure you don't cross thread. Let's take a paper towel and clean that up. Our torque wrench is set to 35 foot-pounds here, and you adjust that on your torque wrench obviously by just pulling it out and turning it one way or the other. Now we're not going to hit the torque wrench. You pull it until it clicks. So looking at the clearance here below the car, first thing is getting it fit in there. And as you can see, it's too tight, so we're going to need an extension. Now we're tightening it so it's righty-tighty, right from the left. Start on the right and go to the left and then we'll hear it click, then it'll be tight. Did you hear that? All right. All right, now we're ready to put fluid back into the differential, and this is the setup. You take your quart, unscrew the lid. There's no cover to prevent spillage like there is on 5 quarts of motor oil. Take your pump. Now the pump has
a pretty generous diameter to the poly tubing, but take a look at the exit port lumen and it's a lot smaller. The nice thing is, and I got this at Harbor Freight as I mentioned, it's got a catch that allows you to put this into the fill plug and then it'll stay there so you don't get fluid all over the floor. So let's see. Let's put this into the port first. Not get it dirty. There we go. That goes in nicely. And it stays in there pretty firm. And now we'll take our pump with a little extension here, put it into the fluid, and we need a longer extension because this pump is for 5 gallons. All right, as you can see, the pump is too large to get into this quart size bottle. It's made for 5 quart. And I should have been tipped off by the lady at Harbor Freight because she said, just want you to know there's a 20% restocking fee. And I said, does that mean it's not going to fit? And do a lot of people bring them back? And she said, just want you to know there's a 20% restocking fee. So we're going to go ahead and just start to pump. And then we'll pour it into this cup. And then at least we'll know that we got all the residual out of the pump. All right, here's an added video bonus. You can see the color. You can see the color of the fluid and see how much gets pumped out each time. Watch the level go down in the cup. Oh, this is so exciting. All right, let's pour some more in and we'll wrap it up. Now, some people like to put the fill plug back in, run the engine, and get out any air that's trapped, but it's not really we're not really driving it, so the differential is not going through any gears. So I think we'll just let it rest for a bit, let all the bubbles get out, and then we'll put the fill plug back on. I'll put a link in this video for a pump that actually fits off of Amazon. Probably save a few bucks too. All right, so let's reverse the process, and we're almost done. We got our torque wrench all set up. We'll tighten this by hand. 35 foot-pounds, just like the drain port. Okay, it's tight. We'll go till it clicks. All right, remove it, and we're done.